Here we go. Okay, we are live. We are officially live. Can you hear us out there in YouTube world? Looks like Matt can. So we'll just wait for a few people to roll in here. I got to thank Jeff for having the idea to do this on New Year's Eve. It's a bold move, but I think it's gonna work out. There seems to be lots of interest, so hopefully we'll see lots of people here in the comments section, and then we'll get things rolling. Anybody? Actually, I should say also, um, we've had comments about telebelts before, and we didn't have anybody in here that knows a thing about telebelts. Well, tonight we've got Darren from Fronenberger Conveying and Pumping, who has telebelts and runs telebelts. So we'll call him the resident expert. And then we've had lots of placing boom comments and questions before, and Dan is here for that. Dan is probably one of the at the most a half a dozen people I would say in the lower mainland in our area that is capable of handling anything and everything placing boom. So I've been hyping him up as the guru. So Dan, don't let me down tonight. Oh, Darren, do you see the third comment down?
I see it right off the bat. I see it right off the bat.
Oh no, I apologize.
Yeah, it definitely is it's not really a love hate scenario there. I guess a lot of times I would rather run the pump, but then there are days, and you're like, I would 100% rather have this belt because the mix will not pump, and you can belt it. You don't have to worry about any hot concrete. A bad mix, you don't have to worry about it. And then, there's a lot of days too that I'd just rather be laid back and run that little trailer pump.
I literally was thinking that yesterday, no, the day before yesterday, I had a wheelbarrow full of chunks coming out of the guy's drum, and of course, he was rinsing out. Goes, oh, I don't know, that had to come from the plant. And I'm going, that come from your drum. But you would have to worry about that on the belt. But where I was thinking, I thought that would suck if my boom pump, because that would go through, some of that would go through the grate on my boom pump, And I thought they're going to plug somebody's boom one of these days with that crap.
Yeah, and what happens bad around here a lot of times is somebody will wash out in the hopper of the pump, and if you don't catch that and you don't back that up a little bit to get that to mix again, you're in for it. That thing may go up to the turret or something, then you're fighting it back and forth trying to get it to push on through. And belt truck, you just go back there and get onto somebody when they wash out, because that's the worst thing. Gets a wave coming back down that belt, but yeah. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about rock packing up a boom. That's for sure.
Darren, what's the secret to keeping a belt busy? Because I know you probably don't do a lot of concrete with them. Like there's only a couple in our market. In my head, I was always kind of scratching and thinking, how would we keep this unit busy all the time? Do you guys keep it busy, or is it more a case of it's just one of those tools that when you need it, you have to have it there, and it kind of pays for itself in that regard? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so like actually last week, it was well, not last week, it was the week before last. It was busy basically every day. We got that belt back in 2003. We do a lot of streets, and the inspectors around here like that 4-inch slump, the 5-inch slump. So we got a belt just so we could get that dry slump, pour it, put the boom back on the truck, drive it on down. And it worked great for us. We had guys started using it on walls because we didn't really have much in this area. We did not have much in this area as far as pump trucks. They would have to come out of the city, or there is a local contractor that has one, but they would not rent it out. They used it for themselves. And so the belt really for us took off. It really took off around here. And it actually took off so much that we got a pump truck.
How do you find the margins on a belt without getting into detail compared to a pump? If I'm allowed to ask that. I'm assuming the stress level is way less.
Well, the stress level is, yes. That's a good question, really. I don't know how to answer that one the best way. That's a good question.
Because I would say on our end, and I think we've discussed this before, guys, as far as the pumping end, little line pumps, trailer pumps. I mean, everybody thinks that the big fancy boom pump is the money maker, but for us, our line pumps do fantastically well, and the stress level is less, and they're consistently busy, and it works really, really well. And yes, you obviously have to have boom pumps, but I think our line pumps, dollar for dollar, do exceptionally well. So, in my opinion, that's why I always like to ask other people, because I know it kind of varies from market to market and whatnot. So, what the situation is in our market might be totally different somewhere else too, right? So,
yeah, when we, when the belt was the only truck we had, it ran constantly. You were out with it, and you may pour concrete one whole week, and then the next thing you may turn around and do rock for the next week. But once we got the boom, that really changed things up with the way we pour. A lot more bridge decks. You never really saw a belt truck on a bridge deck, and occasionally we would if you could get it in that situation. But like I say, Chris is actually on here. You see him in the comments. He's actually the one now that runs that belt for us. And,
he's one of your guys. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Christopher.
Yeah, he is. Hopefully, he's having a good, happy New Year's. Hopefully.
Cheers to Chris. Cheers to everybody. Cheers.
I have a question for Darren. What would you say, is it more maintenance for a telebelt compared to a pump truck?
Well, I don't know. I would say the belt is less maintenance. You got to tighten your cables. You got to tighten up your belts. As far as cleaning wise, if you don't use the oil-based products on the rails, then you will not have belt problems. We use that Spatter Coat 100, which we really like. But if you use the form oil or the diesel fuel and stuff like that, and you mix that together and you spray that, that seeps into those fibers on that belt. And my gosh, by the time you take a belt somewhere to get belts put on, it's $10,000. So you sure don't want to chew through belts very quick.
Where do you get the spatter coat from, Darren? Because we're still trying to find the perfect solution.
Crescent Materials. It's I should really do a video on those, but that's Crescent Materials, and for some reason I'm wanting to say they're out of Texas. I would have to double check on that, and but that so far seems to be the best. Seems to be the best working release, I guess you could say, that we have found.
And is that what it is? It's a form oil. Is that what it's actually intended for?
It is a biodegradable form oil, and when you spray it on, it stays wet. And as soon as you hit it with water, it turns white and comes right off.
And do you find does it deteriorate the rubber components at all? Because that was our issues with a lot of form oils.
No, so far we have not. We have not noticed anything where it works on it, and we've been using it for several years.
And eco-friendly, so you can get it on the ground, and it's not some huge deal. It's not a hazmat scene or anything.
Yeah, so we do a lot of work at P&G, which if you look on the back of your like shampoo bottles or something, you'll see it says P&G on the back, and a lot of that they make a lot of diapers, and so you actually when you would go to a job like that, they were very, very strict, and we would actually spray that belt down before we even showed up, and that's when we used to use the form oil and everything. But we would have to spray it the day before and go out there to the job just so you didn't get your oil can out and spray. Now, we don't have to worry about that anymore. We just show up and do our thing, and everybody's happy.
I can second the Spatter Coat. I also use Spatter Coat 100, and it works very well.
Well, here's it. We got one for Dan. We got our first place in boom question. Sorry to cut you off, but I feel like Dan's turning into a mushroom over there in the corner.
What's wrong with mushrooms?
They're delicious. Come on. Dan, it's a technical one. They're not going to ease into you. They're going straight for the gut on this one.
Yeah. What kind of mixes are you pumping while doing a high rise? The next deck is 45th, an 8K PSI design. Oh, that's right. You guys are American. Your numbers are all different.
What's a PSI? You want me to get my phone out and I'll calculate 12,000 PSI? I'm going to say that's like 60.
8K PSI.
They said the core is 12K. So let's do a conversion here. PSI to MPa. Don't mind me. So 12,000 PSI is 82 MPa.
Oh,
and,
wow.
8,000 is 55 MPa.
And well, most of our mixes, we deal in millimeters up here. Most of our mixes that we pump with are usually around a 180, 170, 180 mil slump on the dry end. And usually we like to have them up about a 220 is kind of our goal when we're pumping up the high rises. Especially once we get above like the, 35, 40 floor range.
Now, Dan, do you find, like I see in Greg's question here about gallons of water and whatnot, I feel like our ready mix up here, the supply is a lot more proprietary and they don't divulge those sort of details? Or is it just that I haven't dug deep enough? Or have you found the same thing?
No, they use chemicals up here to make it wet. They don't use water, and they don't tell us how much of stuff they put in. They just charge a bunch for it. You see it on the bills, but you see no numbers or what it actually means. Slump upgrade is what they call it.
Yeah.
So you can have a 1 slump upgrade or 2 slump upgrade. So,
would that be the same as water reducer?
Yeah, Glenium. Glenium is one of the more common names that people use it. Plasticizer, Glenium.
Plasticizers.
And yeah, it'll be like some of the mixes, they'll leave the plant at and their gauges, and they'll actually arrive to the job wetter than they left the plant at. Just because of the mixing the whole time they get to the job, they drive for half an hour and their slump will go up to an inch sometimes. They'll arrive an inch wetter than they left the plant, which is totally backwards from what we're used to with concrete.
Sure.
Now, Greg has his own YouTube channel that's really good. He works for Gordy's Concrete Pumping. He does a ton of high rise. Out of curiosity, Greg, I see you do a lot of jobs like the big 14,000 trailer pump. What's the highest building that you've done? Just out of curiosity, just to compare to what we do in town here. Like our buildings are getting taller and taller and taller in Vancouver all the time. We're seeing 70-story, 80-story. Up until a couple of years ago, I think Dan had the silver medal for highest building in town. He pumped the Trump Tower, but there was one building taller than that. But that was, Dan, what was Trump? About 57 actual stories?
Yeah, something. Yeah, 50, 58 or 57. Depends on whether you include the mechanical room and all that other stuff on the top that's above where the elevators go. It was 620 feet high, I believe.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
We got to get you up here, Jeff, one of these days to see the operation. Dan will give you the full tour. He could do it better than I could. I'll just tag along.
Be macro. Yeah, I hope to come up when you keep talking about the 50-story doing the roof on one. I hope I get enough heads up to be able to maybe plan that one.
So that's probably 2 months away, Jeff. And the funny thing about that, that big swing trailer pump that I showed you that we got sitting in our yard now, that might be the one to take it to the top possibly. So it would just be the perfect fit for you.
Right.
I don't know if little Jewel might get a little bit jealous. I don't know how she'd feel about that, but I think you'd like it.
It makes me nervous when she gets about 2 foot off the ground.
Fair enough. I like your video today where you went through the control panel and it was, this is broken, that's broken, and that's broken. and I use these 3 functions to operate it.
Yeah. I've got too many toggle switches on there, actually. I need the agitator, I need the hydraulic fan, and then I need the on and off switch.
So here's a question for guys out there. Anybody in the comments or anybody that knows, a Schwing with an MROC hopper. So like a 2023-5 pump kit switched over to piston side, but running the MROC hopper with the axial bearing. What is the highest that anybody knows of that they've seen one of those pumps push? With the Putzmeister 16 cell, the hopper is only good on its best day to about 40 floors before it succumbs to flex, and then the S2 won't shift over. But Schwing guys out there, what have you seen from the MROC hopper with the 2023-5 or better pump kit? Where does its failure point at? Will it go 50 stories? That's something I've been trying to get to the bottom of for years now, and I've never really got a definitive answer from anybody in the field. So I'll wait on that one. I'm sure it'll take a while. We'll let it stew for a bit.
So what do you do when you do? I mean, do you have to put another pump up above to go ahead to go? It's like, Tom said that Houston has a 70-story building. In Houston, what do you do with those?
You just have one pump on the bottom that goes up. It just matters. You have to have the right kind of pump. Like the pump we have right now, it used to be AJ's pump. They sold it. It went down to Merle for a while. They did a bunch of high-rise and stuff with it. Now we bought it back. That is a 70-story pump.
No, we bought it back and sold it to you, so we've sold it twice now. now Dan owns it, and we rent it from him on days when we're shorthanded. So
yeah, they're short operators, so they have to use me sometimes. But no, that pump is it'll go 70 stories, maybe even 80 stories if we had to push it. And then you get the bigger pumps like the 1400 14,000 that he was talking about earlier. Those were the pumps that were like there's a couple of them out here for the high buildings, but they did the World Trade Centers and stuff like that in New York.
I think the 14,000 also holds the world record at what is the building in Dubai?
Yeah, the Burj Dubai.
Khalifa? The Khalifa?
The Burj Dubai, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the one you look it up in Putzmeister's brochure, and it was called the 14,000 SPHD or something like that. And under specifications, all it said was classified. So, a fairly badass machine.
They did a little bit of tweaking with that machine, but that was basically just a glorified 14,000. And I was reading about their mixes too, and they were using Glenium was the plasticizer they were using. If you look at the videos, I remember watching a documentary of the building of that, and it almost looked like gray water coming out the end of the hose up at the top with the pump pushing it out. It was so wet.
And Dan, was that one pump from the bottom, or did they relay that to a second pump halfway up?
The idea originally was to go halfway up and put it into another pump and pump it the rest of the way. But that just ended up causing too many problems. So they just ended up using the one pump all the way from the bottom.
It's a funny thing with the high-rise pumps. It's easy to build a pump that makes the theoretical pressure, but it's building a pump that can withstand that, just hammering full tilt 8, 10, 12 hours. It's got to have the heavy hopper, the heavy drive cylinders. Everything is heavy. So there's a lot more that goes into those badass like 14,000 puts, SP 9500 Schwings, things like that. It's more than just what you see on paper for sure. So
okay, so I got a question. What happens? You get halfway up, 3/4 way up, and you plug. I mean, what do we do? We bring it back down.
Okay, so you're talking a priming situation.
Sure.
So if you're priming and you get it up, we always use a meter of grout first. So there's a truck that comes with just 1 meter of grout, dumps that in the hopper, and we push that up. The only time for me that has ever plugged and not come out the end was one when it was really cold up here. And what happened is the water froze to the inside of the pipes as it was going up and just left the sand to push out. And we got it all the way up the straight pipe and into the first section of boom. And then we took a boom elbow off and let all the pushed out the sand out the end of that elbow. And then we put the boom back together and finish priming. But in theory, what you would have to do is you would have to tap the pipes, find out where it's empty, take out that the I would assume the pipe above or the pipe that is plugged, empty it out, put it back together, and then keep going.
Okay.
Same time idea if you had a plug when your hose is on the ground, you just find where the plug is.
Yeah, it just seems more difficult when everything's vertical versus horizontal. I mean,
yes and no. It's more difficult. It's more difficult in the fact that it's pipe and not hose. You got clamps that you need. They're heavy duty clamps that are holding everything together. But it's not near as messy in theory if to take a plug out, because all you have to do is back the pump up a little bit, and your pipe will be empty. You take it out, it's just the plug in there. Empty the plug out, stick it back together, and away you go.
It's almost messier, Dan, what you say when it plugs on the blowdown. More common and more messy when you're trying to blow the system out. And this, especially if you're trying to blow down into a parkade, go 200 feet horizontal, then come back up to street level is where we've seen the most issues. So now you're running down to the parkade, breaking pipes apart, blowing
and then
the
it's
vertical
flowing
pipe
down from both sides, from the
all
street
into the park. Yeah, all into the
side,
parkade.
it's all rolling into the parkade. And that's usually, segregation that causes that when you're done the pump. That's almost, I'd say probably 90% of the problems we have is trying to clean the pipes out after we're done the job is where 90% of our plugs come from.
There's a lot more guys in the U.S. now that are doing the high-rise water wash. They'll wash out the hopper or the high-pressure pump, and then they'll put a sponge or a pig in, and they'll fill it up with water, and they'll have a high-volume water source, and they'll actually use the pump to push water all the way to the top of the high-rise. Once the concrete comes out and the water comes out the end of the boom, I believe they have like a bleeder valve at the bottom. They crack it open, and all the water in the system flushes right back down. They've been doing it in Australia, I think, for 10 plus years. A few outfits, quite a few in the US are doing it. Nobody really talks about or shows it, because I think the companies they're doing are bigger outfits, and it's kind of a proprietary thing that they've put a lot of R&D into getting right. But it is becoming more and more common, and air is becoming less and less common. I just don't think in our area right now, I don't think our market is ready for it, because there's a lot of infrastructure required to support it and a lot of organization. And I think our area is pretty wild compared to a lot of the areas where they are able to do this stuff. So I don't think you'll see it up here anytime soon, if ever. But I would love to have the chance to see it in person sometime somewhere. So there's a great YouTube video on it. Meals Concrete Pumping, MEALES, Meals Concrete Pumping high-rise water wash. If you look it up, it's fantastic. They go through the process step by step.
So what are your weights that you're looking for on these? I mean, I guess we're still pounds here. I would think, are you still looking at 1,800 pounds of rock, and then 1,400 pounds of sand, and then the rest is cement weight and water weight made up? Or what are you looking for when you see the tickets coming up? Do y'all have the weights on the tickets?
They don't give us that stuff up here, Jeff. It's very proprietary. Yeah,
we just have the strength of the concrete. So we know what the strength is. If it's a 50 MPa or an 80 MPa or 35 MPa, that's basically all we know.
Yeah, see, I'll get of course, we're a 3,500 PSI, 3,000 PSI mixes and things like that, but they can still be way heavy on the rock and light on sand and cause me a lot of issues that way. And so I like to have an idea of what they're sending me if I don't know the company. Most companies I know, and I know should be a good mix, but on the ones that I'm not familiar with, I like to have an idea of what they're bringing me. So
I think that our raw materials up here are so forgiving. They're all natural materials. It's relatively good stuff. I think is why maybe we get away with not knowing or not needing as much information as you guys might in other areas. I just find, if it doesn't pump, then we just let them know, and they send it off to QC, and sometimes come back with an answer and sometimes don't. But I find they actually are usually pretty good about getting back. If we get a hot load one day, We want to know what's going on. They'll go back to the lab or talk to whoever, and usually come up with a reasonable explanation as to what happened and why, and what'll going forward, how to prevent it from happening again. So there's a really good comment I just posted here from James. He's in Australia, I believe. And he says they don't use high rise or air to blow at high rise anymore. So what do you do, James? Do you do the water wash as well? Do you work for an outfit that does a lot of placing boom? Any comments you have or any feedback would be awesome to hear.
I'll tell you, since hoses have gotten a lot better with not collapsing, my favorite way is to suck the, it's not the sponge, but the wet paper sack. That's my favorite way to actually clean those hoses out. It's safer, and it just puts everything there at the curb. The guys can wheelbarrow to where they want to go with it, or I can pump it back into the truck. But I was going to save this discussion. I know we're talking about high rises, but I've noticed that the sponge, and I'm just calling it the sponge I'm using, takes a lot more PSI to push it through my system than it does that paper bag. I was at CPS Friday, and I picked up two new sponges. Not that I'm trying to cheat; these are blue ones. So, but they are different. They both have a different feel to it. One's a lot stronger, a lot stiffer feel to it, and the other ones are soft, similar to like the orange one I'm using. And I guess that's going to be my experiment now for the next few weeks is which sponge am I finding that works the best in these rubber hoses.
Well, I'm going to try the paper bag, Jeff, because my wife just yesterday almost threw out about a dozen of these paper grocery bags. We can't get plastic bags here anymore. And I grabbed them from her before she tossed them in the trash. So I got a bunch stashed in my truck, and I'm going to try your method because I've been watching your videos, and that sponge goes back way slower than the paper bag. And I've never had great success pulling the sponge back. Often I have to assist it with air. So I'm going to try the bags like you. Once the competition is wrapped up and we have declared a winner, I'm saving them until then. I don't want to violate any of the rules, and I'll see how it goes. But I think you're really onto something with the paper bags versus the sponge for sure.
Well, and I think the cement bag is going to be different. It's for some reason those bags, when they get wet, it's almost like newspaper. They get a little slime kind of built with them along, and then of course it's got the plastic inner lining on them too. And I think that helps, with lubrication and going through those hoses. I think you would get a better feel with newspaper than you would maybe the paper sacks from a grocery store. But if they soak them and see. I mean, I'm interested to know how that works.
I think you're onto something with the plastic in the bag. I think that's the key. I got my brother here messaging me right now. He says one of the Meals water wash videos is actually done with wet paper cement bags.
Yeah, I've watched that one.
Yeah. Okay. So I think, Jeff, I think you're onto something. You're ahead of the curve, man. Us Canadians are way behind.
I'm a pioneer and didn't even know it.
Well, if you come on up to next time you're coming up to BC, or when you do come up, bring your paper bags with you.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the guys at the airport, when they go through my bag, what they say when they see a bunch of empty cement sacks. What Customs going to say?
I was telling Dan earlier, we did a little trailer pump job on Friday, and we sprinkled the brown sugar in the hopper of the trailer pump. We pumped down. We only had 60 foot of hose on, so it worked pretty good. Chris was actually with me that day, and I said, "Hey, put that little ball in there," and I said, "Let's try and suck it back to the pump," And he said, "Man, I got to get going. I don't have time to experiment because I like to experiment." And I said, "Well, we'll get it figured out." So we put that little sponge in there, and it sucked it back. It went back great. We busted the hoses off. That's the first time I've ever been able to do that. And I was going to ask Caleb if he's ever pulled a sponge back like that before.
Oh, we lost
your volume, Caleb.
Oh, there we go. Hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Actually, I've had pretty decent success. You got to make sure that concrete's wet, though. If you get a concrete that's a low slump, you are not going to be able to pull that back. I did that on Friday. I had the slump was like 4.5 or 5, and I tried sucking it back, and it got through a hose and a half, but then it just stopped. It wouldn't go any farther, so I had to air assist it. My air assist did not go as planned. I mean, it worked great. It worked great. I air assisted the back. Everything got cleaned out, but Miles got pushed in a little farther than we would have liked, and we chopped just a little bit of his head off. But I soaked him in Clorox and cleaned him up real good, and I tried throwing him in the dryer to dry him up so we can hopefully glue his head back on, and he can still continue the competition. So we will see. We'll see tomorrow. Hopefully he's dry enough. I can slap some Gorilla Glue on him, and we can put him back together.
Well, I think, Caleb, because you're pumping shotcrete, it's so sticky, you're going to have a heck of a time, like you said, getting the sponge back.
Oh, there is no shot through a 2-inch hose. I have not. If it's 25 feet, yeah, I can pull a ball back. But if I have 50 feet, 75 feet, a 2-inch hose out, my hose just starts collapsing right at the reducer.
That's why I love that little Milwaukee compressor I have. You can walk that thing out 200 feet and help air assist and have the pump in reverse and take everything right back into the hopper. It's the cat's ass. I would recommend one of those things to anybody line pumping. It's been really handy for us.
I will definitely consider that. But I mean, I have my air compressor there, and I have 100 feet of air hose on my truck. So, you know, if it's 100 feet or less, I can always air assist it with just the air compressor I got on my truck.
Well, and that 2-inch line, you can drag it anywhere. So you can drag the end of it closer to the truck and get back to you. Hey, I want to let y'all know that the Doozy Ranch, the comment there, that's Bill. That's my brother-in-law who runs my 38 meter.
How you doing, Bill? We got to get you on here one of these days in person.
Yeah, y'all may need to mute me on that one. Let him talk.
So, Jeff, when's Bill getting his new pump? Are we allowed to talk about that?
Sure, we can talk about it. I don't know.
Am I going to see a surprise? Going to see a surprise at World of Concrete? You're holding out on us? What's going on?
No, that would be. I mean, I always think that'd be pretty awesome to have that done. But I've got to get this 38. I thought about putting it on YouTube here, for sale pretty soon, but I haven't done it. I need to get it sold before we go pick up the new one. So. But it's just a matter of time.
I think you'll like that DY, Jeff, because it's got the proximity switches like a Putzmeister. So I think you're going to find it incredibly smooth pumping compared to the open loop stuff. I think that'll be the biggest difference you're going to notice. Those things are silky smooth, so it'll be real nice. I'm
still holding out for somebody that might want to deal with me. It seems like your friend from the Library, maybe they want to talk with me about some publicity.
Well, I'm twisting Sean's arm to try and get him to send that 36 XXT demo unit out to Washington, which it would at least be close enough we could jump across the border and check it out for a few days.
Yeah.
So I know if Sean's watching. I haven't seen him in the comments. We're gonna get him on a future live stream here. Actually, probably the week before World of Concrete, and talk about a few things. But if he needs a poster boy, right here, right there, exactly. One Canadian, one American, whatever.
There's several right here, and you can ask Matt. Since he's spent some time in Texas, how much interest he's gotten from the videos. We're approaching 100,000 on that last video from Christmas Eve, so that's a lot of exposure. That some people don't even know the name of these pumps when they see our videos, but when they do see a video that you're actually promoting somebody, there's 100,000 people that just saw that video and knows that's a Schwing pump on a John Deere or a John Deere skidster. And
I think if you go through YouTube and you look at like manufacturers' videos from 3, 4, 5 years ago, they'll have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 views. And like you said, when you get a video like yours, there are the 100,000, and it's showcasing a new product or manufacturer's pump. It is pretty good exposure, I would think. So,
well. Honestly, I've never been watching a football game or been on YouTube and seen a commercial for a Putz or an Alliance or any of the brands that we all use, Concord. I've never seen a commercial for those, but you watch our videos. There's your commercial right there. You're seeing the machine work, and you're seeing what we're putting through. day in and day out.
Yeah, I think you're Schwing's best salesman right now, Jeff, in terms of line pumps.
But well, you know I'm wearing a Mud Demon hoodie, so you know.
Well, it's based on a Schwing product, right?
You got that damn Applebee's shirt on. I'm gonna change your mind about that when you come to Texas.
I actually did this just for you. I got your hat and I paired it. I complimented it with my Applebee's shirt.
Well, I was at Chili's yesterday, and I was thinking about getting a picture for you, but I never did get around to it.
That place is a dive, man. What else we got in here?
I thought I'm just answering a question you got down there about the grout. What can I do when grout's coming too dry up the building over 50, 60 stories? I've just wet the grout. I've never tried it. I just thought of this as your question came up. I wonder what would happen if you put a little bit of bentonite or something in front of the grout or slick pack in front of the grout. I wouldn't want to try it on a really high building like that for starting, but I'd be curious to see what happens. I might try that one day. But no, we just wet our grout up. Sometimes the grout going into the pump almost looks like slurry water. You can't even it would never sit in a bucket. It's just so wet. Like if you put it in a bucket, you would just have gray water. So that answer to that question is just make the grout wetter to start with. Most of the grout is not structural. You can't use it in the building. So it's not a matter of you need it to be dry enough up there to be structural, because it's garbage anyway.
You guys are the believers in the bentonite. I've tried it a couple of times now, but man, I still get a little skittish, when I'm trying to.
How's it work? How's it worked for you though?
So far, it's been fine. But
the only negative I can say is obviously you just have to make sure the guys at the end of the hose do not get it into the finished pour area. Aside from that, I think bentonite is the be all end all, especially considering how inexpensive it is. It is king, man. You toss that slick pack in the trash.
Yes. Oh man, dude, bentonite is king. I plugged up once with bentonite, and it was the very first time I used it. So I'm deeming that user error and not actually knowing how to mix it and where to put it. How much line you needed. Ever since that day, though, never plugged. And I've done 200, almost 300 feet of line, never plugged, one shot.
I'll tell you the key. I'm still stuck on my 60-pound bag of the masonry mix, the top end with sand. The key to it is, and that's the reason why I dump it into my 4 to 5, is to keep it separated from your water. If you ever let your hose down, the reducer down to where that mixes with your water, you're going to sandpack, guarantee. But if you can keep those two separated until you actually hit the switch to start pumping, I mean, I've done 325, 350 downhill with it. But I have had luck with the bentonite, and I'm going to keep it with me. But I'm still a grout guy. I don't have to worry about telling my guys, my crews, watch the end of the hose and make sure that's out of the forms and things like that. Plus, if I use grout, I've got a sack to blow out with or suck back with. I don't have to use that damn sponge.
Chris and I, we actually were experimenting with the ready mix plant one day. We're trying to get our brakes up, and we did, but they added more rock in. Probably wasn't the best experiment because we could not get any concrete on a pool bottom at all. But it was a local pool, and we went down the side of a building about 75 feet and then turned a corner and went another 125. And I stuck the ball in at like probably the 75 to 100 foot mark, and we started priming up with slick pack, and I guess that hit the ball and slid all the way across there with slick pack just like nothing. And it was even going up and down pool walls, and it primed up great. But I would have been nervous wreck trying bentonite on that, but I'm sure it would have done it. But I guess you can still put a ball in front of bentonite and let it go with it. I guess, I assume. I don't know. We're still
I've
learning.
I've had terrible results putting a ball ahead of any primer, and I don't know if it's just our material. I'm talking like maximum of 3 hoses, and it plugs it right where it pushes up against the ball. And I've had dozens of guys swear by it. So I think it's got to be our material here or something I'm doing wrong. But I've tried everything, and I just cannot get that to work for the life of me.
I did have to use the ball going downhill for a little house. They did a little garden area. I think I videoed that one, and I stuck a ball in there that day, and it did just fine. But now I put a little bucket of water in front of that ball and let that run down the pipe, and then I put the ball in there and primed up with slick pack. But I've got to get on this bentonite kick. I don't know. I mean, I'm just behind in the game, I guess.
Darren, did you use that new Conforms quick adapter yet? The line pumping adapter? You sent me the photo.
It's actually plugged up on the back of the pump right now.
Like connected up, not plugged up, connected up, right?
Yeah, connected up.
Okay. I got scared.
I was like, what?
Somebody's getting an air hammer out tomorrow.
So it is on the back of the pump right now, and I had the little plunger that put your PTO in. The seal is bad, so the pump won't even, the PTO won't even go in right now. We're waiting on parts to get here, which they were supposed to be here Friday and they never showed up. But anyway, everything fit up just fine on that. And our first pour on that job will be this Wednesday. And they're going to bring in some line dragons on Tuesday. We don't know what to expect. The company, it's Whitehead Concrete Pumping. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're out of Marion, Illinois. And they say they work great, but this is a 8-inch thick floor with 16-inch center rebar. So I assume we're going to be dragging a lot of plywood around to let the line dragons run on it. I'm not sure how these, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a good day or a bad day, one of the two.
What size line are you guys going to run? 4-inch or 5-inch?
We're just going to have 4-inch hooked up through it, yeah.
4-inch.
So, and then the next pours, the pours after that, we're planning on using the adapter for the back of the pump, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to run that line to the belt truck. We're hoping to set the belt truck inside the pours and actually telebelt it. That way we can stay away from the slick line because nobody likes wrestling slick line around. I know we don't. So we'll see what happens there. You live and you learn, huh?
Was that Michael Setner or Conform that you talked to about that piece?
You sent his number over.
It was Mike. Okay, we got to get him on we got to get him on a live stream. He's a wealth of knowledge. That guy. He
was in Disney that day when I called him.
He was. And
I think I talked to him on the same trip. He was in Disney when I called him last time too.
Yeah. So I called you, and we had actually, I took the guys out to eat. We went up to Perryville to a place called Mary Jane's up there, and they're known for their burgers. And man, just as soon as I picked up the phone with you, they like cranked up the music in there. I couldn't hear. I'm like, here we go, So I'm outside standing in the street trying to talk to, the Canadian man. It's on that missed the ferry. I think you missed the ferry that day.
Oh, that was the day. Yeah. Oh man, don't ask me how I feel about that. Yeah, that was that was my first day towing a trailer pump. I was just a passenger actually, and that extra 15 feet of trailer literally cost us the ferry. And they let the Sprinter van behind us go on, and they held us, and it cost us like 2.5 hours. Yeah. So ask me how I feel about trailer pumps.
So did you get in a decent time that day though? I mean, did everything work like clockwork, didn't it?
Actually, the pour went fantastic. We were done in about 5.5 hours. We had 325 feet of hose out for a pool. The pump worked magnificently well. We got the truck stuck trying to back the trailer out. So that was fun. And then I was back home by 8:30, 9 o'clock that night. So it wasn't as bad as what I thought it would be, but it would have been a lot better had we made that first ferry boat. We showed up 2 hours early, which is unheard of. And we still missed the thing because this freaking trailer.
Wow.
Terrible. They came over and said, how long are you? I'm like, I don't know, 45 feet. And then they just proceeded to the next car. And yeah, the rest is history.
So Frank Kerbler with Kerbler Concrete, the guy that we bought our trailer from, So he actually bought a brand new pump, the very same model I believe you all were trying out, and so I'm anxious. He's ran it a couple of times now. I believe they say it's got a lot of bells and whistles on it, but so far I think he's happy with it. And he's trying spatter coat. He's trying spatter coat. I ordered him a barrel in. He come down the shop the other day and picked it up and give it a try. So
we got a barrel of something from a forming outfit that we work with, and it's in a shop my brother grabbed it. Maybe he'll message me and let me know what it is. And it's been working really well lately too. I don't know, maybe it is spatter coat. I'll see if he messages me back here, but we've been using that on this because that trailer for us, it's a loaner / rental. So they got to when we're done with it, they still got to sell this thing to a customer. So we got to keep it like tip top.
yeah.
So yeah, anything we can do definitely helps for sure. That's why I asked about if it degrades the rubber components or not. So
we have not noticed anything on that. So time will tell though. Time will tell.
Well, gentlemen, I think
that out too.
I think I'm gonna take off real quick because, like I said, I'm at a party and I need to still kind of be down there with my wife and stuff. So, but I'm glad I was able to sneak away for a little bit and partake in the live stream. So,
Thanks, Caleb. Cheers.
yep, thank you.
Happy
You
New Year,
guys have
Caleb.
happy New Year to you guys as well. And I will definitely be watching the rest of the live stream probably tomorrow evening because I might be hurting tomorrow morning.
Happy New Year's, Caleb.
Yep, happy New Year's, guys.
Happy New Year's,
Be
Caleb.
safe.
Good to have you, man.
Yep, later.
So, guys, I got my brother here messaging me again to Verjara. After around 25 storage, should still look at 1.5 meters of grout and fill the hopper up top of barrels. Pre-stroke water, 2 to 3 strokes. 1 meter grout is subject to contamination from previous loads in the mixer. So I'm going to send my brother the link right now and see if he'll log on. He might be a little too shy. He's not as boisterous as obnoxious as I am. But I'm going to send him a link if everybody's okay with it, and we'll see if we can get him on here. I think it's about a 20% chance, but I am going to fire him the link right now because he's very active in the text messages here.
Yeah, tell him we're not answering his questions. He's just going to get on here with us.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly. We're cutting him off. You can get on here. It's time time to shit or get off the pot.
It's either all or none.
All or none.
Here's a guy that's got a question. Vegetable Super has a question about your bentonite, and I know what I've done so far and have had success. But he says here, I see guys prime a full bucket of bentonite straight into a full hopper. Thoughts? What little I know about it, you don't need to mix the two together. And I'm guessing you're all thinking the same thing. I'm for sure. I don't know about. I've never tried to mix. I don't know what he means by mixing it in a full hopper. I always keep my prime in front of the concrete.
Sorry, where was that one, Jeff? That was Vegetable Super?
Yes.
Was that one a ways up? I'm trying to find that one.
8. It is an 812.
Okay.
Was that one?
Oh, shoot.
I'd be skittish about bentonite in the hopper, just because of that. Sometimes with like slick pack, when they dump that concrete in there, it kicks that primer up into the hopper itself. Sometimes if you don't get a good prime, so I would be, in the first yard or two, I'd be a little bit skittish about what that would do.
So I've played around with this a lot. I find that doing that, especially with bentonite, you end up with more contaminated concrete. Yes, you can use the first bit of concrete in the hopper to push most of that material into the barrels, but there's always a little bit of residual, and the agitator paddles get at it. And I find you end up with, instead of, a wheelbarrow full of concrete to purge before you're into good uncontaminated stuff, you can easily double that, in my opinion, by throwing the stuff in the hopper and trying to let the concrete push it in. So that's why I like to do the if you have a prime port, that's why I prefer to dump it in the port. I think it's more effective, but also that primer stays ahead of the first bit of concrete and you don't contaminate nearly as much. So that's my 2 cents.
So my question, I have a question about that. What happens if the bentonite and concrete they get mixed together, or you say you prime out and then you get concrete on top of it? What's going to happen?
It'll never set. It's like mud. They'll if it's in a wall, they'll strip the form a week later. Yeah, you'll have like soft soft spots in it, either one big solid mass or like pinholing. If it's into finished concrete, you'll never get a finish on it. Basically, it stays like mud forever.
Really?
It can be a very, very expensive mistake, and that's my one disclaimer with bentonite is you absolutely have to be responsible with or it doesn't get into anywhere where you don't want it. So
Okay, I was always wondering that because I hear y'all say that, and so far I've been able to keep that from happening. But
Oh,
my question was what's going to take place. So
even if you have a deep footing or a deep slab and you think I'm just going to spread it in the bottom, what our guys, our finishing crews noticed, if they step in that deep spot and they step through the concrete into the bentonite and they take another step, it can bring that stuff up to the surface, and
and it
they'll
gets mixed
still,
in there.
yeah. So you've really you got to keep it away.
Yeah, yeah.
Jeff, you got me thinking. Maybe at the end of one of these pours someday, I'll mix up a half a bucket of bentonite and dump it off in the hopper, and I'll let that mix up, and I'll grab a couple of cylinders and see if they won't break them for me. I'd be curious.
It'll never set there, and as long as you mix it in there real good, it might hydrate, but it'll be to the point almost like throwing sugar in, where you could crumble it with your hands.
Huh?
Only when you're as strong as Scott.
Yeah.
It's a secret right here, right here.
Yeah, Mr. 2X
combo platter. This is a double. It's a double.
I'm getting there. You got to do the reducer curls. You know, you got to lift the five. You know, you got to do a couple pumps on that.
5-inch hose press.
I'm still a little guy, so I'm on that 2-inch reducer.
It comes in handy when you're trying to get in places to fix the pump, though. Let me tell you.
Yeah, Sir Mister here he talks about using Portland to prime with, and if you're worried about getting concrete anywhere where or bentonite anywhere you can't get it, that's the best way to go. If I'm doing a critical pour down in the bottom of a parkade somewhere and don't know who's on the other end, I'll just mix up a bag of Portland and dump it in the hose and know it'll get through, and I don't have to worry about what happens on the other end.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Dan. I think Portland or mortar mix is definitely the safest bet for sure. Vegetable Super, he's commented a few times, and I feel like he might be local. Are you from the Lower Mainland? And if you don't mind, who do you work for? Do we know each other? I'm curious. I think he might be local to us. So, do you guys have any? I had a couple topics I came prepared that I'd noted ahead of time. Did you guys have anything that you wanted any discussion points you wanted to bring up?
Well, no, we kind of hit the sponge and the sack thing, and like I said, I got the two different styles of sponges that they had at the Concrete Pump Supply, and I'm interested to see the difference with the harder sponge, I guess you could say. It's not near soft. If that works any different versus the sack. So
I tell you, the experience with the boom with sponges is I've noticed, you know, a lot of times, majority of the times, I'll fold the boom up and I'll put it back on the truck and I'll suck a ball back or a sponge while it's folded up on the truck. And the harder the sponge, that thing sits there and it builds vacuum because that sponge is just stuck on that pipe right there. And when it comes back, it just rockets back. Versus, you know, the a little bit softer sponge, the medium or the soft, you know, you can kick it on about a 1.5 or a 2 and it'll just glide back. Seems like
it's way back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so I just know Zach, who you see a lot in my videos, and they've bought their own pump also. And he and I was just kind of talking about the bag, and we just feel like that it doesn't take near the air pressure to push the bag versus the sponge, and you don't get that big blowout at the end, even if you still have 20 or 30 psi on it that you do with that ball. The ball, I mean, that thing is just almost like a projectile sometimes. So I don't know. I feel a lot more comfortable with the bag. I think it moves a lot easier, and I don't think you're giving up anything as far as how clean your hoses are with it.
I do think that bag would be a little bit safer. The other day down on the job, we had the trailer out. We had what was it, 125 or 150 foot of line, and the driver ran out of water, which we usually put that ball in there and then we shove it through with water, and all he had was air in his water tank, and so we started easing on that. And I don't have a gauge, you know. I definitely need one, but one of our our finishers, he said that ball's moving, just go ahead and kick it on. I thought, now if we would have cranked that thing wide open, that ball would still be up there, and it'd be up there circling around the earth right now. But you know, the force that ball came out, and I had that valve shut off for a long time. I guess that air built that much pressure in there, but a little bit, I get leery around there.
Well, that's the thing. I question posting as many videos as I do blowing out the sponge with air. To me, it's an experience thing. But anybody who hasn't done it before, air can be so dangerous. I've seen some stuff over the years where somebody like literally could have been killed from blowing out with air. So I just for me, that little Milwaukee compressor that we have for somebody who's kind of getting their feet wet with using air is a great start, because it produces volume of air so slow, you really have to do something stupid to get yourself in trouble. Running off like the air off of the truck's air brake system. If you're not careful and you step away from that cap for a couple minutes and come back and you don't know where the pressure's at, you can literally kill somebody. It's pretty serious stuff. You see Jeff do it. You see me do it. We'll probably see Darren do it. Dan uses air too. But that's like years of experience and being taught by people that know, or admittedly learning the hard way. And we were just really, really lucky that they didn't come around and bite us in the ass long term. So that's my disclaimer for the evening for 2024. If you're going to mess around with air, just have respect for it is how I'd summarize it.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to shout out to John. He's a pumper around the Metroplex. Anyway, I've always known him as Red. That's the first time I've seen his name. So, but thanks for stopping by, John. Appreciate it.
Oh, that's John Sibley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he and I message back and forth. He's, I think, knows our former mechanic is. I think they're pretty good buddies too. But yeah, he and I chat as well. He's a really good guy.
He was pumping one day up the road from us, and just from Instagram and things like that, I kind of knew of him, and I stopped by there and took him a hat, and just introduced myself. But he had been watching some videos, so I thought that's pretty cool to get to meet him.
Well, while we're giving shout outs, let me give a shout out to the 10-horse Monty up there fishing at 813. It's a relative of mine there, and I talked to him today about going live stream, and he joined today. I don't know if he's still on here or not, but good to see you, Gabe. And right there's a man that can teach you how to catch some fish. Right there, he's in a lot of tournaments all the time. So
I need him to message me. I want to go fishing with him.
He's the man.
I love
guys.
fishing.
We caught a straggler. my brother showed up. He did it. This is Dan. You know Dan well. It's Jeff from Muddy Feet Concrete Pumping out of Texas. Darren from Frontenberger Pumping and Conveying out of you're out of Missouri, right, Darren? I believe.
Yes, sir. Southeast Missouri.
Southeast Missouri, Missouri, as they pronounce it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the conversation.
Right on.
So, you want me to throw one of my pre-scripted questions out? And this is it'll be for us, but I want to hear from the guys in the comments too. This is one I'm always curious about. What do you guys get to do, or what does your company do to get incentivize operators to keep the equipment clean? What is it if you're an operator that works for a company? What is it? Is it something they do, just a precedent they set? What is it that motivates you to keep the equipment clean? And for the guys that are owners, what do you find works for to get your guys to keep the stuff clean, other than a lead pipe or a stick?
I was fixing to say, you put them in a 98 model without an air conditioner for about 6 months, and then you put them in a nice new one, and then tell them if that thing comes back looking rough, they're going back to the 98 model.
I like that one.
Over the years, I've trained so many guys, and it just seems like some guys just can't see dirt. Like they just don't see it. It's like they've cleaned it, and then you go and show them, and oh, what about this? Oh, I didn't notice that. And it goes, you can just point it out over and over again, and they just never see it. Some guys are just like that.
I think when the boss man here, when he starts cleaning the stuff and it rolls out with the wheel shining, everybody else is thinking, I better get mine clean. I don't know. Maybe I was trying to polish the wheels the other day on the 38 again. I got sidetracked. So
yeah, Darren's stuff is immaculate, absolutely immaculate. And that 38 meter is what, a 2005?
That's an 05. Yeah.
Yeah, it is clean.
Got some nice machines.
DOT even looks at us and waves, I think, whenever we drive by. I don't know.
That's one of the benefits. I'm right beside the DOT, the weigh scale. Like my yard is literally less than 100 feet away. So we're driving across that thing anytime it's open. And that's good incentive to keep it clean.
I was always told that the cleaner your dash is, the less likely they're going to pull you over.
The dash.
Especially on the Mack truck. The Mack truck is horrible. Guys throw gloves, water bottles, ticket books, everything against that dash. I could definitely see that, Jeff. That makes sense.
Armor roll. You just got to invest in armor roll and start spraying it down, Jeff.
McGuire's vinyl and rubber cleaner. I love that stuff. It makes the thing smell like new leather, even though it never came with leather to begin with. So, anybody sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Honestly,
sorry.
I've been real fortunate. I haven't had a lot of employees, but the ones I have had, they've always taken pride in their truck and keeping it clean. So I've been lucky. I feel like I've been very fortunate to do that. Bill typically when he comes back, it's not odd to see him back to the pressure washer every time when he comes back and washing things down. And even the guys before around him, Chris was real good about it, and a couple of the others. So, and a lot of it is pride in especially when you buy new trucks, that they want that thing shiny and they're proud of it. So
I'm in the same boat as you, Jeff. We got some really, really good guys that like to keep their stuff clean. And I'm in the same boat as you. I think we've got the pressure washer set up right there where it's easy to get to, and I think that right there is so you're not dragging stuff out trying to clean your truck up. It's easy to use. You just reel it right there out of a bay, and you got your remote. You can click all your soaps and everything else, and I think that helps a bunch too. So,
well Darren, you've got that. Yeah, sorry, Jeff.
I'm sorry, man. You can tell in our first videos, the first 2 years until we got the shop, we tarped everything, and it was just because it was a pain to go find a car wash somewhere that we hadn't been run off from before, or I haven't tore up. so we tarped everything, and then hope that mud didn't make its way up and over, and sometimes it does. But once we got the shop and I was able to do the pressure washer and the things like that, then we don't worry about it as much anymore because it's just easy to wash things.
And Darren, you have a video where you installed a real Skookum pressure washer system with hard lines all through the building and soaps and everything, right? Wasn't that a year or two ago you popped that video up? That was you, I think, right?
Yeah, so we ordered gosh, that was back whenever everything was on back order, but we waited like a year for that pressure washer, but that was a Hydrotech pressure washer, and they installed that. It's a propane fired pressure washer, and it's got a remote system. So we've got it in our utility / bathroom, and we've got the hard line piped all the way through to the ceiling and back down on a reel that's a 100-foot reel on the wall, and basically when we pull in, you just raise the door up and you got 100-foot of reel there you can roll off and hook up your wand and everything's right there on the remote. And then in the back room we've got wax, and we use Schaefer's Citrol X and also Turbo Red from Schaefer's, and it mixes straight out of the bucket. So when we hit the button, it mixes your ratio right there and dumps it in your bucket, and then sucks it through the pressure washer, and it can't get any easier. I mean, it's about as easy as it gets. So,
Do you find with that setup you're not doing a lot of actual scrubbing and brushing? It's just chemical and pressure washer rinse.
so with the Turbo Red, I have noticed that it definitely reduces how much you do have to brush. I mean, I definitely like brushing them, but we've got the foam cannon for that. So, I mean, it's
Well,
I don't know what to
another
say. It's
reason,
about as easy as it gets. You just put some soap in the foam cannon and foam up your machine and scrub it a little bit. And I mean, 30, 45 minutes, you back her in the shop and looks good. Throw some armor all in tires, you're ready to roll.
another reason I like keeping them clean is you can tell when something's starting to go wrong a lot sooner. Something's leaking or, hydraulic leak somewhere, rather than it filling up a bunch of dirt and concrete first. You see a drip right away and you're like, oh yeah, okay, got to get that fixed before it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things when you see the guys when you're out there scrubbing away on the frame all around the truck. You'll see those spots where bolts have come loose or oil's leaking, and then you can catch it before you're heading out the next day.
Especially on the booms too, in terms of cracking and things like that, or even just pins that have fallen out or whatever. Definitely. Anybody in the comments there? So Tony, my brother there, most of the videos I post where we like fly a trailer pump to the roof of the building, or do something absolutely crazy and super techy, he's usually the brains behind that. I just roll in with the GoPro and catch all the clout for it. But if you guys got any technical questions, that's your guy right there. Him and Dan are both very, very technical pumpers. I'm just a good BS guy. To be totally honest about it.
You all definitely do some crazy stuff. I'll say that. That's the one with the flying that trailer pump up to the top. That's mind boggling to me, but it made good sense. You bucket it up there and dump it off in the hopper and let her rip and run the bucket back down and fill it back up. But yeah, y'all are crazy out there in Canada now, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
That kind of came from years ago. We had a few customers looking for trailer pumps to go up on high rise because they didn't have enough room between the crane and the top of the elevator shaft or whatever they needed to pour to get the bucket in there. So they'd want something they could fly up. So when we built that one pump from the ground up, that's why we made it, so that it could detach like that.
And then once they know you got it, then everybody starts calling for it. It's kind of like a lot of the pool guys. They'll fly a trailer pump up to level 20, 30, whatever the penthouse level is, and they'll feed it with buckets to shotcrete their pool. So it's definitely it's a good option to have for the customer for sure, I think. You guys see this one I posted on the screen here, and this fella, he has a YouTube channel as well. I've watched his videos, and I like this. It's a good question. It'll segue into a topic I'm going to bring up in a little bit here. Any advice for a 17-year-old concrete trailer line pumper?
Yeah, come work for us.
He's in California. We'll sponsor him.
Bring a camera.
Yeah.
It just depends on where you're at in it, and what you're wanting to go for. I mean, I could tell you lots of don'ts versus do's, but it just, I don't know. You're 17. I mean, if you get your education finished up, I'm sure you're still either in high school or some part of college, maybe.
He's finished college, going to community college, I think he said earlier in the chat.
Okay. So, finish that up, and it just depends on where you want to go with it, man. It's all you. It's what you want to do with it.
The other thing you'll see is at 17, by the time you're 18, you might feel like you've seen everything. That's when you really got to start talking to the other guys that are pumping around you, and kind of just having discussions like this to see what else is going on out there, so you can keep on learning, because with this job, you can learn something new every day.
You never know it all in this job.
That's for sure.
And I always learn something from guys that I've hired that have had some kind of passion for it. they seem like they're trying to improve something that we've done, and usually they end up finding something and making it better. Uh, and so, don't think you know everything, because there's always someone that has a better idea. It may not be betting or a sponge ball, but somebody's got a better idea.
I tell you, I've learned a lot from you guys. Just in general, a lot. The little tricks that Jeff does with the trailer, and then especially the little brown sugar trick there, which we knew the sugar back in the day, but the brown sugar trick, I feel like it buys you time when you're cleaning up, and of course the trailer pumping. We're 100% rookies on that. We're still trying to learn all that stuff, but you guys showing videos all the time. There's just something sometimes in a little video you'll catch on to it, and then next thing you know you're doing it. So, and I appreciate you all for showing that stuff a lot too. That's beneficial for not only me, but I'm sure a lot of other guys out there too that watch those videos.
Yeah, it's helped having other people on here. I think we're in 07 when I got started. I didn't have YouTube to lean on for pumping, and I think guys have an advantage now by the people that have contributed their experiences on YouTube and situations that it's a lot better now to get educated with watching some videos and watching some stuff. It's not 100% guarantee tell all, but you can get an idea of what's going on through enough videos.
So in 05 at World of Concrete, that I believe it was 05, it might have been 08, is when I saw the mud snake, when the actual mud snake hose, I believe it's the last day we were there. I walked by and they had the mud snake hose curled up. I said, that'll never work. That'll never work. And they said, it's a lightweight hose. They're trying it out. And I said, well, when I get back, I'm going to order one up. And I did, because nobody knew about them. And, but before we would take a 5-to-4 reducer to do a wall, and then take that 8-inch, the 8-inch white trimmy hose, and we would wire that around that reducer and drop it down in the wall. And of course, pulling the 8-inch trimmy hose like that up, and a little piece of rebar would snag it, and of course it would rip, and you'd have to pull it out and put another one on there. And now you got the mud snake hose. You just stick it down in there and start pumping concrete. And it definitely the tricks have happened over the years and has definitely evolved. That's for sure.
It's funny. I would say, in terms of the question, the line pumpers question, advice, don't be in a hurry to get on a boom pump. We've seen it so many times over the years where guys come in and they put in 3 months, 6 months on a line pump, and everybody wants to run the crane pump. There's so much you can learn on a line pump that's not going to bite you in the ass nearly as hard as it will running a boom pump. If you jump onto a boom pump too quickly and you have the option of running a line pump, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're missing out on a lot of the basic principles of operating a pump and basic understanding. So yeah, don't be in a rush. If you spend 2, 3, 4 years on a line pump, it's someday just going to make you a better boom pump operator, in my opinion, especially if you're 17 years old. If you're young like that, you got lots of time. So that would be my biggest advice, I think. So I guess that'll segue into my next topic then. Is everybody here feeling the crunch of trying to find operators or people that train as operators? How is it in your area? I know it's a big deal in our area. There's probably twice as many pumps on the road or parked in lots as there are guys to run them. What do you guys find, and how do you see the future of this evolving? What could we do as an industry to attract people to the business or to the career, even if it means us having to maybe alter the ways that we do things? What do you think? What are your thoughts on that? Because that's a big issue where we're at. That's our biggest challenge right now. It's not finding work. It's finding operators to run the machines.
Yeah, I've always told my customers I can always buy equipment. It's finding people to operate it that you trust with that equipment. And because as you all know, and the guys around, safety is huge in this, and that can make and break you just with your reputation. So you got to find somebody that is very, very safety conscious and can take care of the pump, and then figure out how to run the damn thing. So it's a challenge to find someone that takes. And the thing is, the guys that are the guys that are there because they want to be there and enjoy the job are the ones you don't have to worry about really taking care of your equipment. They
Yeah.
enjoy what they do, and that's the pride thing. And but finding that person is that's the difficult part on our end.
Yeah, like we have the same issue. I have the same issue up here. I mean, always looking for a good operator, somebody who you can count on. And I've told like the company I'm with, there's no point in buying new equipment if we don't have somebody that can run it.
Yeah, and then Bill and when Chris came on board with us, Bill and I both thought the same thing from us being around him. We knew him because he was driving a ready mix truck, and basically I went to Bill and I said, I'd like to talk to him. Uh, and Bill said he said I had the exact same thoughts, and we, had a ton of common sense and just had a ton of pride, and it worked out when he came on board. So you can get those guys from seeing them, in the ready mix part and things like that, or they jump from one pump company to another. But it's it's just hard to take somebody new that doesn't know anything about the industry or anything about concrete and molding that person. Which I guess to my credit, Bill was a beer salesman, and he, he, he he went around, made sure that everything was stocked for all the grocery stores. But no, I can't. Like I said, I can't ask enough or say enough about Bill. He's been awesome. And if anybody ever got fired from Muddy Feet, it would be me being fired by Bill. That's how that would go. But that's that question that you're going to continually ask yourself is, how do I find that individual? I think y'all done a great job with Ian. I don't really see a lot of your other operators, but I can tell by his enthusiasm and all that spreads when you have a young individual that's full of piss and vinegar, and can that enthusiasm spreads with your guys too, and it creates a little competition.
Yeah, Ian is probably one of our most requested operators, especially on the line pump. I find the line pump is very customer service oriented. But yeah, Ian does a great job. I think Ian, you see him more because he likes the camera more than the other guys. A lot of the guys don't like the camera too much. Ian just loves it. But yeah, I feel like it in our region. I feel like the last 2 decades, the public school system kind of turned a blind eye to trades. They pulled all the shop programs. They started pushing everybody to, everybody's going to have these different careers, but they neglected trades. I think that we're feeling that now. I feel like we missed an entire generation. I feel like the trades shortage, not just in concrete pumping, but in all trades in our area, is so prevalent right now that you're going to see, and maybe you're already seeing action to kind of push trades on people, because those are the good high-paying jobs right now because there's nobody to do them. So I'm hoping that this next generation, the kids in grades 8, 9, 10 now, will maybe see even our YouTube videos or whatever it may be, and get inspired and maybe take some interest in it. But I think it's going to get better on that end. It could only get better. If it doesn't get better, I fear for what the outcome could be. But I think it will get better, not overnight, but I think 3 or 4 years from now. I know my brother's son, he comes in the shop and he chips hoppers and cleans pump in the summertime. Maybe when he's 18, 19, him and a few of his buddies will come over. I promised him I'd give him a shout out. It's a big shout out to Tyler. He's a loyal follower of the channel. He's probably the one that twisted my brother's arm to get on here tonight. But hopefully I see, young guys like him, and I feel like there is some hope. But as far as, to 25 to 40-year-olds right now, it's slim pickings. It's really tough. Nobody, I would say nobody, but not a lot of guys are really interested in this business, and I don't know if they're cut out for it. I hate to say it, but that's what we've seen anyhow. So
it's one of those, like, an opportunity that is coming up is with us having the mandatory operator certification now, kind of hoping to see a college or one of the trade schools pick up and start looking at starting up a trade program for concrete pump operators, because for us that would be huge. You'd have guys coming to you that actually knew what pumping was all about and knew it was what they wanted to do. Right now, if we say 10 guys we try out, probably one of them, if we're lucky, makes it. The other 9 are just guys that are here for 3-4 weeks, biding time until they can find another job.
yeah, they all want to make the big money and run the boom pump right away. When can I get on the boom pump? I want to run the biggest one in the yard, and I want to make X amount of money like that guy. How fast can I do it? They don't understand, right? It's tough.
Yeah.
And then their next thing is, oh, I didn't realize you had to work this hard. I thought you just pushed buttons.
I run the boom pump. I don't drag hose. No, but I run the crane pump, right? That's honestly, it's something else.
I hear that.
I feel like if we could get our, the new people or the young people for us, typically, we summer jobs, like y'all talk about, but our summer jobs, it's 110 degrees here. Well, if they can go to the store or the fast food restaurant and make 12, 14, 15 bucks an hour and be in air conditioning versus out with us in the heat, I mean, we can't compete with that, at first. And
no, and then also you also can't compete with that because a lot of kids now, I mean, I see it with my kids and their friends, they put in their shift at work and they don't want to put the long day in because they want to come and get on the games with their video games with their friends.
Yeah. Yeah, and like Bill just said, I have to wake up when?
Yeah. We see, Jeff, we don't get, you guys seem to start at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. all the time. We got noise bylaw around here. So most days for the average job, we can't be on site till 7:30 a.m. unless it's got a special permit. But you guys get the early stuff. That would be like pulling teeth up here, I think.
And for some reason, I say for some reason, I mean, it's pretty common sense. We do get some, I'm gonna call it a sympathy permit. A lot of times you can go get a special permit from the cities because you're pouring concrete. You need to have that stuff going at 5 a.m. when it's going to be 100+ degrees that day, or 95+ degrees that day. You need that material on the ground at sun up. That way you got time to work it and you're not killing everybody. So yeah, typically I leave the house around 4:15, and it's a 45-minute drive to the shop, and then fight traffic to wherever I'm going. So, for me to take someone along with me from where I live, to be able to kind of show them the program, they're going to be getting up at 3:45, 4 in the morning, and that's a big hurdle for people.
Yes. So Jeff, you're talking about that early mornings and some of the jobs that we actually do where our guys are actually pouring the streets or some big project we've got, and that actually comes up as a safety concern. Let's start early so we don't run into the heat, because obviously you guys deal with you're saying 110 degrees, and I'd rather be sitting in the McDonald's flipping burgers than not 110. But I mean, it gets up there into the 90, 100-degree range around here, and I mean, we're the same way. We try and start as early as we can and get back. And the city will look at that as a safety issue, so they'll let us start early.
It's probably not a great business model on my end, but honestly, my goal is to have everybody back at the shop before noon, and that does cut out some jobs sometimes. But I just we're getting at the age, Bill and I are, that I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in my equipment being out there afternoon, and I'm not interested in Bill or I myself being out there afternoon during the summertime. It's not appealing to me. Maybe at some point that may be my downfall, but that's how I feel.
I started when I was 22 with that belt, and gosh, I'm 43 now, and I can't take the heat. I can't take it like I used to be able to. So yeah, I'm right with you. I'd rather be back in by noon every day, but you know, it varies.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, Bill says my goal is to be home before to be back at the shop before the sun comes up.
That's a big issue we've been having lately with the concrete supply is, 500 or pour, we'll have to have the operator in for 4:30 in the morning, and they can still be out till 8 o'clock at night or later because the service is so crappy. They might average 20 meters an hour.
Yeah, and it's almost like if you had enough guys, you'd want to split those into shifts. And at one point, we were able to do that. And it kind of works out better for everybody. But obviously, now with the operator shortage, it's tough to do. And that does kind of exasperate the problem of the operator shortage because the guys who still are pumping concrete for a living, they're just getting worked and worked and worked because there's nobody else to relieve some of the heat right now. So it's kind of like, something's got to happen. And it'll be interesting. And like Tony said, with this operator certification coming in the new year, I think it's going to give our industry some actual credit because, a young kid would ask me 2 years ago, what do I need to run one of these things? What's the training program? Oh, you just come out with me for a few weeks. And they're kind of like, what? That sounds pretty rinky dink. So I think having the certification, even though it is going to be an added expense to pump companies and guys who are owner operators, it's going to be an expense to them. But I think overall, it's going to help the industry to legitimize. And I think it's going to be better for everybody just in terms of running the business. It could be better financially. I think it's a big step, and we'll see. But I think that'll be one of the key turning points for us locally. So fingers crossed anyhow. So we got 3.5 minutes left. We'll go a little bit over here. I got two more things, guys. Unless anybody else has anything pressing. World of Concrete. Who all is going here?
I'm planning on it.
I'll be there.
I'll be there Monday to Friday is what I'm hoping for.
That's my goal, Monday to Friday.
I was hoping to be there for a couple days, but we got to see what the weather does. It's kind of it falls right in the middle of the week, so
that is one worry I have. We're starting to see some projections for the week of the 20th of some pretty good winter weather coming in. They know the temperatures are going to be here. They're just not sure about the precipitation. So that could be a factor, but for most part, I'm 85% sure that I'll be there.
And when you say good weather, Jeff, by good you mean bad, right?
Yes. Yes, yeah, pretty good. Yeah, some bad weather.
we say good, and that means not raining. So.
Right. No, when I say some pretty good weather, I mean some pretty severe. Some stuff that we don't typically have. Which a couple times a year we do have a cold storm system come in and lay something down of some sort. So I'm not worried about snow, but we seem to get a lot more ice than snow. So that's when things can go bad for us. So.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying the ice would probably keep me from coming. But if it's snow, I'm not worried about that. I'd probably go ahead and be there.
Well, I'm hoping to make it out, guys. I don't know. We're gonna wait. My sister actually works up in the office, and I actually called her up the other day, and I said, "Hey, how's the tickets looking still for Vegas?" And we can still catch a flight out there pretty easy. And I think it was staying in a Flamingo or something like that for a couple of days. I said, well, that'd be good to be right there by that little metro tram or whatever. So anyway, we'll see what the weather does around here. I think they are calling for some nasty weather, and if it gets bad, we might truck out there and fly out.
Pro tip for anybody who is going to go down: if you haven't booked your hotel, or even if you have, cancel it and rebook no earlier than a week out. Because there's 2 conventions that week, the hotel rates are still astronomically high. They do this every single year. A hotel that they want $500 a night for today, wait till 7 days out, you'll get it for under $200. I do this every single year, so just trust me on this. If I'm wrong, well, sorry, but yeah.
If you're wrong, you better get twin beds.
You and I, hey, Jeff, you and I will share the king, and my wife can have the couch.
So wait into that 7-day window is what you're saying?
I would say 7 to 10 days, because if you look at the rates right now, you're going to vomit. So just don't be disgruntled. Just wait till 7 to 10 days out. It does get better. They do this every single year. The hotels play their dirty little games because all the corporate guys that are sending 10, 20 people down, they can't book last minute. They got to book ahead of time, right? So they just eat it up. So it is what it is, right? So I think what I'd like to try and do one more live stream before, like the week before World of Concrete. We might have a special guest coming over from LeBaire. No pressure, Sean Gallagher, but we have a verbal commitment. So we'll try and get him on and maybe talk about all things World of Concrete and what we're going to do down there and plans and whatnot. But before we go, here's a question or a closer for you guys. Year 2024, one thing that you want to see in the year 2024, either business-wise, equipment-wise, something that you're excited about, something you want to accomplish, something you want to do in 2024, what's at the top of the list? I know I'm going deep here. I just got deep.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Can we answer that at the next live stream?
and I'll just tell you right now, world peace is not an acceptable answer.
I think what I'd like to see is because we've been pricing up new trucks, we've got the trailer, but now we've been kicking around the idea of just refurbishing the trucks. I would like to see one of our trucks go on up next year and start the refurbish process and bring it back. Because our 43, something just went sour in the motor the other day, so we're going to get a brand new motor in that 43 meter. So the trucks are getting old, and I don't know what the time to buy right now or not, but I'd like to see one go on up, start getting refurbished. That would be my goal. We stay busy. We stay busy, but like I say,
yeah, I hope that we can continue with what we have going as far as this job scheduling and maybe increase on it some is what I'm hoping. But back to your refurbishing thing, I'm seeing more and more guys on forums talking about replacing their motors in their trucks that have the exhaust systems with motors that doesn't have it. I'm seeing more and more of that. So,
our 32 just got built last year, and our something went sour on the 43 a couple weeks ago. They still have not tore into that motor yet, and I do know that the 38 and our belt truck have way more hours than the 43 does. So I don't know, but the old Mack engines are good motors, but I get a little bit skittish around the newer ones with the exhaust.
Yeah, we've seen the older MRs go from, you wouldn't think anything of a pre-2000 motor going MR 400 going for what, 33,000 hours.
Yep.
And now 2008 with those bull gears on the back, you're looking like 15 to 17,000 hours. It's insane. Half.
Yeah, I'm at 20,000 hours on the 38, but I don't remember what my miles. I think I'm right at 200,000 miles. So I don't know. And the belt's right there with it too. But we keep that good Schaefer's oil in there. So far so good, except for the 43, which it's sitting in St. Louis right now. I guess we'll wait on it. But 2024, maybe it'll bring it in.
Yeah, and that's the key, is just having a good program to where you can get those things maintenance right, and get your oil changes and all that stuff in. That is the most you can do as an owner operator. The preventative measurements, staying on top of that stuff is the best thing that you can do. Other things out of your hands. I mean, you can't help. It's like your own health. You can't help a lot of times your genetics, but you can help the things you can, and that is making sure that you have a good maintenance program.
Dan, you're a man of much wisdom. What do you say for the new year?
Oh, I like what Falcone said in the comments there is just having sites ready for pumps. It seems like so often these sites you go to and they're going to have a crane come in and everything's cleared out of the way. And
Dan, you work for the contractor.
Our sites are a lot better than
stop.
Our sites are a lot better than a lot of sites that we have to go to that I've gone to, but it's just I can so agree with that comment. Just go to sites that just aren't ready for a pump to show up, and you get there, it's like, oh, we can't do this. And I mean, okay, now we have to line this instead of using a boom because we can't set up with the outriggers here because the way you guys got everything arranged. Or even we're starting a new site.
I'd love to go back and count the texts I get from Bill where there's the pile of dirt or the building package is sitting between the curb and the forms of the house. and the slab isn't poured yet. And so he's having to reach over all that stuff, and inevitably you're 10 to 15 feet short now.
Yeah. Just all kinds of, it seems like it's an afterthought, and it concretes the way these buildings get built. Like even these new excavations downtown, where jobs like I'm working on, we get called in after the hole's been dug. Well, sometimes I wish I could get there before that so they could put the shoring in so you can actually put a pump close enough to reach stuff rather than out underneath the power lines. And now you got to deal with all this stuff. Whereas if you'd be there at the start of the project, it's like, hey, we're going to have to set a machine up here, just the planning stages of things just seem to get pushed. I think that's another reason that so many people get fed up with pump operators. I meet so many former pump operators that are just tired of dealing with all that stuff.
Yeah, no, right. That's a very good point, Dan. That's very valid. Completely agree with everything you said there. Tony, what do you think?
Oh, I'd love to see one new pump in the fleet. Not sure what it is yet, but also we've got 2 or
Don't get these guys going in the comments. They already are. You see what I just posted up? Oh man.
No, those coming up, but it's going to be based on what the site requires. Not we like all pumps. It doesn't matter what brand they are, but what our sites needs, what we'll end up buying. But we definitely have a couple units that could use some paint. I don't know how we could ever down them for long enough to paint them, but that's something we'll try and wrap our heads around.
Yeah, I'm along the lines with Tony there, and also kind of what Darren had mentioned earlier about refurbing some stuff. We have some older pumps, and they still work great. They just look old. They need paint. They need a little bit of polish, but there's nothing wrong with them. And they're arguably more reliable than our new pumps. And with the price of new equipment right now and the price of used equipment, I've seen in the last 8 months, the price of used equipment has really, really seemed to plummet. So it makes buying something new that much more of a stretch. I would love to have something new for sure. I would love to freshen up 1 or 2 old ones. What the new one would be, what I want versus what I think we need, that's the internal debate, right? What do I want? Well, everybody in the comments knows what I want. I've said it in 100 videos, right? What do we need? What do we actually need? We need something that can pump 50 stories, can reach 60 meters, can fit in a 15-foot wide laneway, and that somebody with a CDL can drive, or without a CDL, I should say. So if any manufacturer can come up with that, we'll sign papers at World of Concrete. Tentative. But yeah, no, I'd like to see a new machine. I mean, a lot of it is just want. I miss new iron. When we got that new trailer pump out there, the demo pump a couple weeks ago, just being around something new. Oh God, it was just so nice. I mean, it was scary as well because it's like brand new, too new. But just to be around something new and just the pride you have in having a brand new machine on site and everybody's kind of oogling over it. Yeah, it would. And I will add, this is the first time ever in history where multiple people came up on site guessed how much that pump unit was worth, and every one of them was right in the ballpark. Years ago, they'd show up and you'd have people on site, you'd have a brand new 38-meter pump, and they'd say, "Oh shit, this must be worth 200 grand," and you just kind of chuckle and say, "Try 3 times that or 4 times that," right? Well, I think with inflation and everything else, maybe people are finally understanding what this equipment costs. So without getting into unethical conversations about pricing, I don't know. If people know what the machines are worth now and they can accept that, do what you will with it, right? But I'll leave it on that note. So yeah, so that's what I want to see. Something new, something shiny, and maybe something old cleaned up to look like new again would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think we're an hour and 40 minutes now. So that was a good run. I got to thank Jeff. This was Jeff's idea to do New Year's Eve. I thought he was crazy, but given the success of his video last week that didn't get released until 8 hours after it was supposed to, he's kind of on a roll. So we went with it, and there was a lot of interest, and I think it went really well. And I got to thank everybody for showing up. Thank my brother for showing up in impromptu on short to little notice. And I don't know who all here is available. I'd like to try and do another one the week before World of Concrete, and we'll kind of dig into what we're going to do that week, and amongst other things. And I got to thank all the commenters and everybody that's followed all of our respective channels for the last couple years here. For me, it's been a really pleasant surprise, and I look forward to 2024 being an even bigger year for the channel. I think with all of us working together and kind of helping each other out, I think it's good for everybody. And I like to think it's good for the industry in terms that it's going to stir some interest, and maybe some of these young kids will concrete pumping might put a little bit of a twinkle in their eye, and maybe it's a potential future career for them. So fingers crossed.
Y'all have a happy new year, and thank y'all. I'm and thanks to the guys in the comments. Y'all are what drives us to do this, and to come to these lives and enjoy visiting with y'all and seeing the new ideas and thought process and things like that. So Tony, it's good to have you on here. Dan, thank you very much for being willing to come on here. I know you put up with a lot having Scott on your job sites, but I really appreciate you being willing to do that.
I tell everybody,
Caleb, it's always great to have you. I'm glad to have Darren. This is Darren's first live stream. I hope we didn't scare you off or anything.
No, it took me a little while to get warmed up, but I'm warmed up now. I'm ready to.
I think you were the star of the show, Darren. I thought that maybe you were scared of us, but I think you were better than all of us. So
Well,
he's gonna go solo soon enough.
yeah, but I say we get another one together pretty soon, and see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, happy New Year's to everybody. And I'm going to, depending on how I feel tomorrow, I'm going to post this up on my YouTube channel. I'm going to try and put timestamps in with the major topics of conversation, so you can kind of skip to the good stuff. And I'll try and set up the live comments, or that they will show up as well. I know there's a way to do that. I can't say that I'll be have enough clarity tomorrow morning to figure it out, but I promise by Tuesday morning, you'll be able to go back and watch the whole thing if you tuned in later, had to leave earlier or whatever. But big thanks to everybody for coming out, and Happy New Year's to all.
Happy New Year.
All right, guys.
Happy New Year.
Catch you on the next one.
All right.
Over and out.